Two cars waited in complete darkness on a quiet road outside Buenos Aires. One had its hood up. A man leaned over the engine with a wrench in his hand. He was not a mechanic. He was Mossad. In the second car, 4 men sat without speaking. They had crossed half the world for this single moment. Fake names, fake passports, safe houses, escape routes, months of planning, and one target. Every evening at 7:40, a tired man stepped off the same bus and walked home to a poor house. His neighbors knew him as Ricardo Klement, a quiet German, a husband, a father. It was a lie. His real name was Adolf Eichmann, the man who helped organize the murder of millions. And for 15 years, the world had no idea where he was. Tonight, they would take him. 7:40 came. A bus appeared at the end of the street. It slowed. Then it drove straight past them. Empty. Another came. Past them. Nothing. 8 o'clock. The cutoff. The men should have left. They stayed. Had he seen them? Had someone warned him? Had the most hunted man on earth vanished one more time? To understand how 4 men ended up waiting in the dark for a ghost, you have to go back to the day the world he built burned to the ground. Berlin is on fire. Hitler is dead. The 1,000-year Reich had lasted only 12. The men who promised to rule the world are now running, hiding, lying, or swallowing poison. Adolf Eichmann was not a general. He never commanded an army. He never gave speeches from a balcony. His weapon was quieter, a pen, a stamp, a train schedule. He was the man who turned human beings into numbers, names into lists, lists into trains. He never had to pull a trigger. He just made the machine run on time. And he knew exactly what his paperwork could do to him now. It could hang him. So Adolf Eichmann decided to stop existing. And somehow, it worked. For 15 years. But before he ran, there was one last night. In a chalet beside an Austrian lake, Eichmann found his wife, Vera. Outside, his sons played in the grass, too young to understand that their father had helped build the machinery of death. He had never told her everything. He never did. But she knew enough to know that if the Allies caught him, they would hang him. "The war is over," he said, his eyes on the floor. Then he pressed something small into her hand, a cyanide pill, in case the Russians reached her first. "Be brave," he told her. If he survived, he would find a way to reach her. Then he walked out into the mountains and vanished from his own family for 7 years. He gave a false name to an American patrol, and they let him go. They had no idea who they were holding. That was the horror of him. He didn't look like a monster. He looked like a clerk, a neighbor, a man you would pass on the street and never remember. He hid in plain sight, a fake soldier, a lumberjack in a forest, playing violin at night for men who had no idea they were drinking with one of the most wanted criminals alive. But the net was closing. His photograph was spreading across Europe. At Nuremberg, witness after witness spoke a single name: Eichmann. So he found the Shadow Road, the route fugitives used after the war, through Italy, across the ocean, to Argentina, a country that welcomed men like him. In 1950, a refugee named Ricardo Klement stepped off a ship in Buenos Aires with 485 pesos and no past. Adolf Eichmann was gone. For 10 years, it worked. He found a job at a Mercedes-Benz factory. He brought his family over. He told his own sons to call him Uncle Ricardo. Every morning he clocked in like every other worker. Every evening he came home like every other father. No one around him knew they were living next door to one of history's most wanted men. He had escaped history. He thought. History didn't come for him with an army. It came through a teenage girl. Her name was Sylvia Hermann. She had once dated a young man named Nick. Secretive, evasive, proud of a father with strange, dark views about Jews. Sylvia's own father, Lothar Hermann, was a half-blind Jewish man who had survived a concentration camp and buried his identity in Argentina. One day he read a newspaper article about a war criminal still on the run, and a name stopped his heart. Nick's surname was Eichmann. It was too strange to ignore. Lothar wrote to one prosecutor in Germany he believed he could trust, a Jewish man named Fritz Bauer, who knew his own government was still full of former Nazis who would warn the target the moment they heard. Then Sylvia did something dangerous. She went to the house herself. A man in his 50s opened the door, slippers, soft voice, ordinary. She was sitting across from one of the architects of the Holocaust, and she still couldn't be sure. Then Nick came home and offered to walk her to the bus stop, and on the way she asked one simple question. "Why did you just call your uncle Father?" Nick froze. He muttered something about respect, a German custom. Sylvia boarded the bus. As it pulled away, she finally let herself breathe. That night she told her father 4 words. "It's him, I'm sure." Now the hunt truly began. Finding Eichmann had been difficult. Taking him alive would be even harder. The tip reached Israel, and Mossad gave it a name, Operation Finale. But a rumor wasn't enough. Kidnapping a man off foreign soil was illegal. Grab the wrong person, a disaster. Get caught, an international scandal. Let him run, and there might never be another chance. So they watched. Agents arrived under false identities. They photographed the house on Garibaldi Street. They tracked his routine to the minute. The green and yellow 203 bus, 740, the kiosk, the walk home. But they had to be certain. And the man had aged. Thinner hair, a weaker body, a face 15 years older than any photo they owned. Then one ordinary afternoon, Eichmann stepped outside to hang his washing on the line. An agent got a clear look. The message flew to headquarters in code. "The driver is black." It was him. The investigation was over. Now came the kidnapping. They set the date. They hired the cars. They prepared 10 backup safe houses. But Eichmann had a 6th sense, built over 15 years of fear. Days earlier, a black car had pulled up beside him and asked for directions in Spanish. A small thing. But why would a local car with local plates need directions on his own street? That night, he didn't play his violin. He smoked more than usual. His wife felt it too. She dreamed of him in a clean white shirt that slowly turned red. In the morning, she told him the dream. "Be careful," she said. He went to work anyway. And that day, of all days, a union meeting kept him late. The 2 cars waited. A teenage boy wandered up to the broken-down car and offered to help. The agent smiled and willed him away. He left. 7:40, nothing. A bus passed, then another. 8 o'clock, the cutoff. They stayed. 8:05. One last bus slowed at the end of the street. A man stepped off, alone, a flashlight in one hand, the other buried deep in his coat pocket. A gun? Thunder cracked somewhere over the city. They could hear his footsteps now. Closer, closer. One agent stepped out of the shadows and into his path. "Un momentito, señor." Eichmann froze. For 1 second, history held its breath. Then they took him, down to the ground, a hand over his mouth, the car engine roaring to swallow his scream, into the back seat, blacked-out goggles over his eyes, hands and feet bound. It felt like an hour. It took 25 seconds. In the car, they warned him in Spanish, "Move, and we shoot." He said nothing. For a moment, a terrible doubt. Was this the wrong man? Then, in calm, perfect German, a voice came from under the blanket. "I am already resigned to my fate." They knew. At the safe house, they searched every inch of him, even his false teeth. for the cyanide every Nazi was supposed to carry. He insisted he was Ricardo Klement, then Otto Henninger, the old masks one after another, so they pressed him. And the man who had built a career on paperwork made one final clerical error. Asked for his SS number, he answered without thinking. One number, one mistake. That was all it took. "What is your name?" The quiet man from Garibaldi Street finally said it out loud. "Adolf Eichmann." 15 years on the run ended with 2 words. The most wanted Nazi on earth was in a room with the people he had tried to erase. Some of them had lost entire families to his trains. They could have killed him in that house. It would have been easier. They fed him instead, because they hadn't come for revenge. They had come for something he had denied millions of people. Now the impossible part, smuggling a grown man out of a hostile country on a civilian flight. An Israeli delegation was in Argentina for a celebration, and an El Al plane would fly home. That was the window. A doctor sedated him. They dressed him in an airline uniform, draped a blanket over him, and carried him up the steps surrounded by crew. The engines started. The plane began to roll, then stopped. A delay. Every second on that runway felt like another chance for everything to fall apart. The agents sat frozen. After everything, would it end here on the runway? Then the plane moved again. The wheels left the ground. Argentina dropped away into the dark. In the air, they told the crew the truth. The unconscious man in the seat was Adolf Eichmann. One crew member, a survivor who had lost his brother to the camps, stared at the cigarette burning between the prisoner's fingers and erupted, "You give him cigarettes? He gave us gas." In Jerusalem, Adolf Eichmann stood trial inside a bulletproof glass booth. The world leaned in to see the face of evil, and the world was disappointed. He didn't look like a monster. He looked like a tired accountant, a man who'd hand back your ball if it rolled into his yard, soft-spoken, forgettable. A journalist named Hannah Arendt watched him and gave the world a phrase it has never forgotten: the banality of evil. Because that was the lesson no one wanted to learn. Evil doesn't always arrive screaming with fangs and fire. Sometimes it arrives with a pen, a stamp, a train schedule, a signature at the bottom of a form. Eichmann's defense never changed. "I was only following orders." The judges did not accept it. In 1962, he was hanged. His body was burned and his ashes scattered at sea beyond Israel's waters, so that no grave, no stone, no inch of earth on the planet could ever become a place to honor him. For 15 years, he believed a new name could save him. That distance could save him. That time would bury what he had done. But history was patient. It waited for him, not in Berlin, not on a battlefield, not in a courtroom. At a quiet bus stop on a dark road where 2 cars sat with their engines off, and the man who once sent millions away by train was finally taken away himself.
Decode the past. Command the future.